my girlfriend and I had planned to get married on Valentine's Day. The next day, I waited for her at the city hall all day, but she never showed up. I opened my phone and saw her and her childhood sweetheart had gone public on social media. Spend a lifetime together. The post featured a happy photo of her and her childhood sweetheart holding their marriage certificate. After I silently liked it, Sarah quickly replied below, "Mr. Robert, we'll surely grow old together in this life." Sir, are you here to get married? Standing alone in front of the window at the city hall, watching the couples passing by, all radiating happiness, I clutched my phone, feeling as isolated and abandoned as if the world had forgotten me. No one paid me any mind. Sir? The staff member's second prompt pulled my thoughts back. I looked up at the person before me, my mind blank, my heart suddenly squeezed tight. Yes, I nodded woodenly. The staff member paused, looked around, and then asked, confused, "Then, where's your wife?" My wife? I glanced at the sweet photo of Sarah and Robert on my phone screen, their faces pressed together. I smiled bitterly. Oh, she married someone else. With that, I turned and walked away, afraid someone would see my tear-streaked, pathetic state. Just a week ago, at a class reunion, Sarah had readily accepted my proposal in front of our old classmates, saying that life is long, and spending the rest of it with me would be enough. I opened my phone again, trying to find evidence that I had seen wrong. But there they were, the 8 glaring words, "spend a lifetime together," and the marriage certificate in their hands. 7 years of love, promising to never leave each other, through life and death. Staring at the photo of Sarah and me on the phone screen, all the memories of our time together, all the moments we loved each other, rushed back like floodgates opening, overwhelming my mind. The beautiful scenes from the past played on repeat in my head. Every year, her birthday, the anniversary of my proposal, I remembered them all clearly, and I always prepared each gift with care. For these 7 years, I woke up early every day, making her breakfast in countless different ways. In other people's eyes, I was a model boyfriend. My colleagues envied me, saying she must have saved the world in her past life. Just yesterday, she had held me, looking at me with doting eyes, and said, "Dave, we're going to get married tomorrow. From now on, people will call me Mrs. Miller." After saying that, she gave me a playful kiss on my forehead. My heart was filled with tenderness then, and my mind couldn't stop imagining our 7 years of love finally reaching its happy conclusion, followed by a lifetime of mutual support. Spend a lifetime together. I never thought it would turn out to be just a joke. Looking at the returning geese in the sky, a trace of sorrow bloomed in my heart. Seeing the people coming out of the city hall casting pitying glances my way, I slowly walked towards my car. I had to go see Sarah. There must be a mistake. It couldn't be real. Sarah would never get married to another man. As soon as I got to her place, I found the door hadn't been closed properly. Through the crack, I saw Sarah talking to her best friend, Emily. Robert and I got married. Clutching the documentation/ID in my hand, my last shred of hope was finally crushed by Sarah herself. On the way over, I had wondered if Robert was just pulling a prank. It turned out I had just been deceiving myself all along. "Robert?" Inside, Emily gasped, her voice raspy and incredulous. "Sarah, what nonsense are you talking in broad daylight? Don't you love David very much? How could you get married to Robert?" Sarah sobbed softly. "Robert is back, and he's been diagnosed with terminal cancer. He only has a month or 2 left. He said his biggest wish in this life was to see me in a wedding dress for him. So, I'm going to hold a wedding with him. I'm going to marry him. I love him." Sarah cried out, heartbrokenly, but her tears were for Robert. My heart felt like it was being savagely squeezed by an invisible hand. I suddenly couldn't breathe. Especially her last 3 words, they were like knives plunging straight into my chest. "Sarah, you said you loved him very much. What about me then?" My fingertips dug into my palm as I clenched my fists, the pain sharp and stinging. "Sarah!" Emily shouted, her voice hoarse and full of disbelief. "Even if you want Robert to pass in peace, why did you have to announce your marriage to the whole world? Don't you think you're being incredibly cruel?" I had expected Sarah to realize the terrible mistake she'd made and genuinely regret it. But I never expected her next words, which utterly shattered my heart. "Do it secretly? Are you kidding? Wouldn't that be an insult to Robert and my love? Our love is open and above board, the whole world should know about it." Hearing this, my insides burned as if on fire. Leaning against the cold wall, tears streamed from my eyes. "Sarah, you said you've loved Robert for over a decade. Then what did all our years together mean?" Emily stamped her foot in anger, demanding, "What about David? Have you even thought about his feelings? He was excitedly waiting to marry you. How can you do this to David? I slowly raised my head, watching Sarah through the door crack. She said confidently, David has loved me since we were kids, always indulging me. He can't leave me. He said he'd only marry me. Seeing her best friend's disbelieving look, Sarah curled her lips into a mocking smile. It's just waiting for 3 months. He'd never let me marry someone else when that time comes. Without me, who else could he marry? I don't know how I finally left that place. I parked the car by the roadside and sat in the driver's seat, lighting a cigarette. The minty scent filled the enclosed car. I closed my eyes and smiled bitterly. Perhaps it was the smoke stinging my eyes, making them ache, but I couldn't stop crying, while Sarah's words echoed in my mind. Robert is the man I've loved for over a decade. 7 years ago, when I held flowers, proposing she be my girlfriend, and she shyly blushed and agreed, leaning into my arms and smiling sweetly. When we stayed up all night watching the sunrise together, taking couples photos to use as our phone wallpapers. When we made wishes on shooting stars, promising to love only each other for a lifetime. Was Robert in her heart even then? These beautiful memories I once cherished now felt like sharp swords, piercing my heart again and again. I never imagined that the person I loved the most would end up being the one to destroy me. With only one cigarette left, I got out of the car and walked towards a convenience store, but the sky suddenly opened up with a light rain. In that moment, I couldn't hold back my emotions anymore. I buried my face in my hands and let out a deep, choked sob. Passers-by taking shelter from the rain stopped and looked at me with startled faces. Sarah suddenly called. I was about to answer, then remembered her words and hung up without hesitation. She called again. I rejected the call again. Finally, I just turned my phone off. I didn't want to hear her voice. I don't know how long passed before I suddenly heard someone ask with concern, "It's raining so hard, why aren't you finding shelter? You'll catch a cold." I flinched, realizing the rain wasn't hitting me. Slowly looking up, I saw Sarah standing beside me, holding up an umbrella for me. Her eyes were red-rimmed, full of worry. "You're such a grown man, smoking and standing in the rain. Are you trying to make me mad again?" Meeting her gaze, I felt a sense of disorientation. "Dave," she whispered softly, then knelt in front of me, her eyes seeming to hold a hint of guilt. "Can we go home?" I looked at her, taken aback. In this moment, how I wished the social media post had never happened. Pushing away her hand on my shoulder, I stood up and looked at her pale face, shaking my head. "Go, please, just go." Seeing her standing there so fragile, my tears mixed with the rain and flowed down. I pointed into the distance, suddenly yelling hoarsely, "Go! Go find your Robert." In the pouring rain, my body trembled, whether from the cold or from being angry at myself for yelling at her like that, I didn't know. Sarah's eyes were slightly red, her expression lost and unsure. This was the first time I had ever been harsh with her. Since we were kids, I had racked my brain to make her happy every day, never wanting to see her shed a single tear. Because I believed that loving someone meant working hard to make them happy, even if it required great sacrifice from me. The rain soaked my body, chilling me to the bone. Heartbrokenly, she tilted the umbrella further towards me, her long hair getting wet. I pushed her away again, yelling, "Go! We're over." Sarah stumbled backward as I pushed her away again, the rain instantly blurring my vision. She came forward again, holding the umbrella. "Dave, don't be like this." I pushed again. She came forward again, until she finally threw the umbrella down and pulled me into a tight hug. "Dave, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." The umbrella lay on the ground. The heavy rain drenched both of us. Her slender body trembled in the rain as she repeated her apologies over and over. Hearing her apology, her voice thick with tears, my once firm resolve melted away in that moment. That night, I didn't share a room with her. I lay in bed with a high fever, dreaming constantly of 18-year-old Sarah, her skin so fair it was almost transparent in the sunlight, her eyes like stars when she looked at me, her voice like ice melting in a spring stream. "Dave, when I grow up, can I be your Mrs. Miller?" In that moment, I struggled to open my eyes, looking at the dark surroundings, unsure if I was dreaming or awake. Half asleep, half awake, Sarah's cold and deeply hurtful words suddenly sounded. "Tomorrow, Robert and I will formally hold our wedding. By then, I hope you can be the best man." The door was closed. Sarah was talking from outside the door. I got up and went to the door. In the past, when Sarah made me angry, I would also talk to her through the door like this. It had become our unspoken understanding, our unique ritual. The distinctive scent of gardenia drifted in. It was my favorite perfume. She would spray it whenever she wanted to make up with me. Outside the door, I heard her sigh. Her voice was mixed with weariness and stubbornness. Dave, I know this hurt you deeply, but I had to do it. Robert and I were desk mates from kindergarten, elementary, middle school, all the way through high school. We have a very deep connection. Even though we didn't see each other for a few years after high school, he always cared about me, and I can't fail him. Last month, Robert was diagnosed with terminal cancer. He doesn't have much time left. Sarah suddenly choked up. I pushed the door open a crack and saw her sitting on the floor, her head buried in her knees, her voice full of sobs. Robert's biggest wish before he dies is to marry me in a grand ceremony. Tell me, can I refuse such a small request? Dave, you're always so steady and generous. You wouldn't possibly be jealous of a dying man, right? I know you're hurting right now, but you surely understand my intentions, right? Don't worry, after Robert is gone, I'll spend the rest of my life with you. You'll be responsible for providing for us, and I'll be responsible for being beautiful, okay? I had imagined countless times what life would be like after marrying Sarah. I told Sarah I wanted 2 kids, a boy and a girl. The boy would be handsome like me, and the girl beautiful like her. After that, I would even be responsible for cooking dinner every day after work, and she and the kids would just wait at the table. Through the door, I heard Sarah's phone ring. Hello, Sarah, why are you crying? Even through the door, I could hear Robert's hoarse voice on the other end. Sarah's nerves were highly strung. She said softly, "It's nothing, I'm just so happy thinking about marrying you." Yes, okay, wait for me a few minutes, I'll be right there. Come see our handsome groom, the best in the world. Robert, I love you. She hung up the phone. Sarah looked at me through the door crack, her eyes pleading. Dave, no matter what I did in the past, you always went along with me. Why can't you tolerate even a little bit of hardship? After Robert is gone, I'll still come back to you. For the next few decades, I'll be with you, raising our children. Isn't that enough? Dave, I love him, but I love you too. We met each other's gaze, and I could see the sincerity in her eyes. She was saying it very seriously. So seriously, in fact, that in a span of 1 minute, she had said I love you to 2 different men. And she even emphasized it again right in front of me. The moment the front door closed, I leaned against the wall, banging my head against it. Extreme despair swept over me. Then I started to laugh, the sound growing louder and louder. 7 years of feelings, ultimately misplaced. Since the person she loved wasn't me, why should I continue to grieve for her? Wiping my aching eyes, I decided I needed to get my dignity back. Early the next morning, I put on a freshly ironed shirt, dressed smartly, and headed to the wedding venue. Sarah had prepared a groomsman's suit for me, but I didn't wear it. Why should I follow her arrangements? Besides, I wasn't here to attend the wedding today anyway. When I reached the hotel entrance, I saw Sarah. She was beaming, welcoming guests. Seeing me arrive, she hurried over, nodded at me with satisfaction, and said with relief, "Dave, I knew you were broad-minded." She reached out to link her arm with mine. I immediately avoided her, saying coolly, "I've thought about it, and I don't think I'm suitable to be a groomsman. However, I still want to congratulate you. Happy wedding." Sarah froze, her smile instantly stiffening. Her eyes held a hint of guilt. I accept congratulations from anyone, but hearing those words from you feels like being stabbed with needles. It hurts so much. Really? I wouldn't believe another word she said. Just then, her best friends came over and started flattering me. "Brother-in-law, you're the most generous man I've ever met." No need to say it. Our brother-in-law is wise and understanding, noble and virtuous. Sarah, finding a future husband as upright and honorable as our brother-in-law is a blessing from lifetimes of good karma. Generous? Future husband? Understanding? Noble and virtuous? Soon enough, you'll all see that I am indeed a man who knows love and hate, and is noble and virtuous. Facing her best friend's praises, Sarah kept smiling and agreeing, but her eyes, looking at me, showed panic, unease, and guilt. Since I had been with Sarah, her best friends had called me brother-in-law. At first, I felt a little awkward, but my heart was always filled with sweetness. But now, I felt repulsion, even found it deeply ironic. I walked into the wedding venue, which was lively and festive. I sat in a corner, treating myself as an ordinary guest, waiting quietly. The wedding ceremony proceeded as planned. The officiant stood between Sarah and Robert, starting the formal script. Sarah was happy as a child, her sincere and innocent smile never leaving her face. It was hard to believe she wasn't acting this out just to fulfill Robert's wish. But for me, whether it was an act or real, it didn't matter anymore. Although I had told myself before coming that no matter what happened, I wouldn't break down, seeing the person I once loved most about to become someone else's wife still felt like my heart was filled with sour water, incredibly painful. After they exchanged vows, Sarah took out a family heirloom necklace. The look in her eyes as she gazed at Robert was full of tender affection. In that moment, looking at that familiar necklace, my feet felt like they were cast in lead, unable to move an inch. My entire mind was buzzing. Isn't that your family heirloom? I looked at Sarah, only to see her standing on tiptoe, slowly placing the necklace around Robert's neck. That's right, didn't you say before that you liked this necklace and wanted me to put it on you at the wedding? No, Sarah. You can't do this to me. That necklace. No. Robert squeezed Sarah's hand, his eyes red-rimmed, full of emotion. Sarah continued, holding the microphone, making a solemn vow. Robert, I've loved you for 13 years, and my biggest dream was to marry you. Now, putting this family heirloom on you is proof that from now on, I am your Mrs. Robert. Looking at Sarah's beaming eyes, Robert cast a triumphant glance my way and gently pulled Sarah into his embrace. The entire hall erupted in applause. I stared fixedly at the necklace around Robert's neck, my heart feeling like it was being brutally torn out. Sarah, enough. That was clearly my mother's keepsake. Before she died, she personally tied that pendant around Sarah's neck, tearfully instructing her to put it on me herself when we got married later. That necklace was supposed to protect Sarah and me, ensuring our love and peace forever. Kiss. Kiss. Everyone started chanting. Sarah smiled, her face flushed with excitement, as if she were marrying the man she loved most in this life. She gently leaned her head towards Robert's, her eyes full of happiness, about to kiss him. Stop! I suddenly stood up and shouted. The warm atmosphere in the venue instantly cooled. Everyone stared at me, whispering to each other. Who is that? Looks like Sarah's ex-boyfriend. What's an ex-boyfriend doing here? Is he trying to crash the wedding? That's too shameless. Sarah doesn't want him anymore. And he still shows up. These words felt like needles, piercing my body. I ignored them, walked straight onto the stage, and met Sarah's gaze. She was tightly gripping Robert's hand, her expression panicked as she whispered urgently, "Why did you come up here? Get down, quickly." Their fingers were intertwined. In this moment, my heart turned to stone, without the slightest hesitation. Facing everyone, I stared coldly at Sarah, my fists clenched, my heart seething with hatred. I took the microphone and said something that made her cover her mouth and sob on the spot, regretting it bitterly from that moment on. First of all, I'm not here to crash the wedding. I'm here to congratulate Ms. Sarah and Mr. Robert on their marriage. Also, I'm here to say that we are breaking up. I've always been someone who finishes what he starts. Since I've decided to break up, I'll naturally make it clear, instead of trying to deceive and mislead. I looked at Sarah, my eyes resolute, and continued, while you're involved with someone else, being ambiguous and unclear, you still expect the person who loves you to be understanding and generous. Sarah's face turned red from what I said, and she scanned the audience with a look of shame. Seeing everyone staring at her with strange looks, she was instantly mortified. She lifted her skirt and rushed towards me. After slapping my face, Sarah accused me sharply. What do you want? Are you trying to make me lose face in front of all our friends and family? Couldn't you have said anything you needed to say back home? Why make such a scene? I shook off her hand and said with a cold smile, "Go back? Can we even go back?" Sarah stood frozen. After a few seconds, she slowly came back to herself, her eyes panicked. You're serious? I've always been serious about relationships. I never cheat." The wedding venue was silent. Everyone stared blankly at Sarah, especially Robert's relatives, who came forward to question Sarah, ask what cheating meant and who her ex-boyfriend, was. They had always thought Sarah was a perfect good girl, willing to make such a sacrifice to fulfill Robert's dying wish. Little did they know, her true face was like this. Sarah was caught in a storm of whispers. She opened her mouth but didn't know how to explain. I quietly left, not wanting to disturb anyone further. But when I got to the hotel entrance, Sarah caught up with me. She grabbed my arm, exasperated. "David, you explain yourself. What do you mean break up? How dare you decide to break up on your own? Did I agree to break up?" Sarah gripped me tightly, her freshly done manicure digging into the back of my hand. Her eyes were bloodshot, like an angry animal, unreasonable and wild. I forcefully shook her hand off. She cried out in pain and shouted petulantly, "David, you hurt me." I looked at her coldly. "Sarah, I'm not someone you can just summon and dismiss. If you keep bothering me, I won't be polite. Seeing my firm attitude, Sarah's pupils constricted, her eyes filled with panic. To prevent her from causing further trouble, I said coldly, also, you are a married woman now. You have a husband. Don't touch me. Otherwise, how can you face the groom you've loved for over a decade? Sarah suddenly remembered saying this herself. A flicker of guilt crossed her eyes, and her voice lost its confidence. Where did you hear that? After a moment's thought, she frowned and guessed, could it be you overheard me talking to Emily yesterday? Since I had done it, I admitted it. Yesterday I waited for you all day at the city hall. When you didn't show up, I had no choice but to go home. Thankfully, fate was on my side and I heard the truth. Otherwise, I'd still be in the dark. Sarah was mortified, unable to look up. She clenched her fists, her face full of regret. After a moment of silence, she said in a low voice, Dave, I'm sorry. On your wedding day, you abandoned your groom and run out to CH. ASE after another man. You should go back and apologize to your groom. He's waiting for you. I left without looking back. Getting into a taxi, the driver glanced in the rearview mirror and asked, Buddy, she's a girl, how can you treat her like that? Should I pull over? I looked at him, confused. The driver explained, your girlfriend's been chasing after you. I suppressed the urge to look back, and said with a cold face, Driver, please speed up. The driver shook his head reluctantly and pressed hard on the gas pedal. The car sped away. Sarah, struggling with her high heels and wedding dress, couldn't keep up and shouted from behind, David, David. I pretended not to hear, telling myself inwardly that no matter what, I wouldn't turn back. Her voice grew fainter and fainter in the distance, until I couldn't hear it anymore. After returning, I grabbed my suitcase and left the home where I had lived for 5 years, the home that held so many of my dreams. Standing at the entrance of the neighborhood, I didn't know where to go. After my parents passed away, I had considered Sarah my only family. I had told her before that, to me, she was my home. Now that we had suddenly broken up, where was I supposed to go? After a moment of hesitation, I dragged my suitcase to a hotel and checked in. Once in the room, I started searching online for rental listings. Sarah called. I rejected the call. She called again, so I just blocked her. Then she started calling from other people's phones. I was so angry I yelled into the phone, Stop calling. Are you crazy? Get lost. My mood was completely ruined by her. In a fit of anger, I turned on airplane mode and shut everything out. My life used to revolve around her, centered on her moods. Breaking up with her so suddenly felt strange and disorienting. I lay on the bed and played games for a while, then fell asleep quickly. That night, there was a sudden knock on the door. Bang, bang, bang. The urgent knocking sounded like it was trying to break the door down. I yawned and got up to open the door, only to find a police officer and a hotel staff member standing there. The officer showed me his badge. Mr. David? I nodded numbly. He let out a sigh of relief and smiled. Finally found you. Saying that, he took out his phone and started reporting. Hello, Chief? I found him. I'll send you the location right away. Have the reporting person come confirm. I was completely confused, my mood becoming uncontrollably nervous. I asked cautiously, Excuse me, is something wrong? I don't think I did anything wrong. I had slept for a few hours and my head ached. My brain felt like mush, severely lacking the ability to think. Seeing my panicked expression, he smiled and explained, Don't be scared, you didn't do anything wrong. Someone reported their fiancé missing at the station and said they were worried he might harm himself. So, our whole precinct was mobilized to search for you everywhere. We've been looking for about 8 hours now, and we finally found you. I said oh and then asked curiously, Who reported it? Your fiancé, Sarah, of course. Hearing it was her immediately made me angry. I quickly said, She's not my fiancé. I turned back into the room to pack my things, preparing to leave the hotel. Since he had reported it to the chief, Sarah would definitely know, and she might even be on her way now. I didn't want to see her. The reason I hadn't gone to stay with friends or family before, choosing a hotel instead, was precisely because I didn't want to see Sarah. She knew everyone I knew. If I stayed at a friend's place, she could easily find me. I just didn't expect her to search for me like this, all over the city. In the past, when Sarah and I argued, I would often storm out, and she would search for me everywhere. Every time I saw her frantic and wiping away tears while looking for me, I would be deeply moved. But now, I genuinely felt disgusted. Seeing me about to leave with my suitcase, the police officer hurriedly stopped me. Mr. David, What are you doing? I don't want to see her. And she's not my fiancée, she lied to you. He firmly prevented me from leaving. I'm sorry, Mr. Miller. Regardless of your relationship, you must wait until our chief arrives with the person who reported you missing. Please be patient. I retorted angrily. If she intends to harm me, are you going to help her do it? The officer was taken aback. He straightened up, suddenly looking righteous. It's not easy for a woman to come looking for you like this. Please don't cause any more trouble. Furthermore, if she were genuinely going to harm you, I would stop her immediately. If necessary, I would even arrest her. But until things are cleared up, you cannot leave. This is my duty. I insisted on leaving. He blocked my way. There was nothing I could do but wait. About half an hour later, Sarah arrived in a rush, covered in sweat. She had taken off her wedding dress. Seeing me indeed there, Sarah smiled happily. She didn't rush to greet me. Instead, she first bowed to the police officer to thank him. I couldn't stand being there for another moment. I asked the officer impatiently, "Can I leave now?" Sarah quickly explained to the officer, "You can leave the rest to me. You've worked hard, you should rest." The officer was still a bit unsure. "Are you two really engaged?" "Yes." "No." Sarah and I shouted at the same time. We looked at each other. Even though we had broken up, the old chemistry was still there. I immediately took out my phone and showed the officer the photos I had taken at the wedding venue. "She's already married. How could we still be engaged?" Sarah's face instantly turned incredibly grim. The officer looked at Sarah with disdain and his attitude became less polite. "Ma'am, since you are not Mr. Miller's fiancée, please do not harass him anymore. Otherwise, we will have to take appropriate action against you." The officer, who had just been helping her find her fiancé, had now turned around and was warning her. Sarah was a bit caught off guard. Knowing she couldn't explain herself to the police, she looked at me, her eyes pleading. "Dave, don't make a scene, please. Can we just talk privately? If you're really angry, you can yell at me, even hit me. I don't care. They say it's hard to completely let go of someone you've truly loved." Seeing her looking so wronged and exhausted, I couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy. But I told myself in my heart, I absolutely could not go back. Why should I be angry? Your choices are your own freedom, and I have no right to interfere. So please, don't interfere with my life either. I deliberately acted indifferent, showing that I no longer cared about her. Sarah believed me. Her eyes red, her lips trembling, she said with a choked voice, "Are you really that heartless?" I laughed coldly. How could she have the nerve to call me heartless at a time like this? Wiping away the tears that were about to fall, Sarah looked at the police officer and forced a smile. "Officers, you're all very busy, why don't you head back?" They also saw that Sarah and I were definitely in a relationship, and this was just a quarrel because of problems between us. So they gave a few brief instructions and left the hotel. I also tried to leave, but Sarah grabbed my arm. I was determined to go, but she held me back and yelled, "Are you done throwing a fit?" I glared at her in anger. "What do you mean, am I done throwing a fit? Who's the one making a scene here?" Sarah closed her eyes in pain, recomposed herself, and apologized repeatedly. Okay, I'm making a scene. Let's not get worked up, we can talk this through." She had always been a bit stubborn. If she decided to do something, no one could change her mind. So, I didn't insist on leaving. I turned away angrily, deliberately ignoring her. The air suddenly fell silent, except for the sound of breathing. "Hey." After composing herself, she said with a heart full of guilt, "After you left the hotel, I didn't go back. I rushed straight home. When I got home, I wanted to apologize and explain everything to you. But when I saw that you had packed all your things, I realized that you were truly hurt. I called all your friends, and they all said they didn't know where you went. That's why I had no choice but to call the police. Dave, I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have gone and gotten married to Robert behind your back. I'm sorry. But I swear, I love you. Please don't leave, okay?" I knew she must have been frantic to search for me all over the place like that. But from the moment she married Robert, we were over. I couldn't accept her back. So, without even looking at her, I asked coldly, "Are you done talking?" "No." Afraid I would leave again, Sarah rushed to express her feelings and try to hold on to me. "Dave, please forgive me. I can call Robert right now and divorce him." I laughed coldly and shook my head slightly, thinking Sarah was truly hopeless. Turning to look at her, I felt immensely disappointed and angry. What do you think marriage is? Playing house? Marry when you want, divorce when you want? Sarah, if you hadn't chased me out today and had continued to marry Robert, and fulfilled your promise to spend the rest of his life with him, Perhaps I would have thought that, even though you wronged me, at least you were loyal to Robert and were a good woman. But listen to what you just said. Do you intend to wrong both me and Robert? Sarah flinched, her face filled with horror. Only then did she realize she had made one mistake after another. Tears welled up in her eyes. She stumbled back, looking lost and distraught, her face suddenly filled with boundless guilt and regret, nearly falling to the ground. I instinctively reached out to help her, but my hand stopped in time just as I raised it. If I helped her now, she would definitely still hold on to he for me. I couldn't do that. So, I hardened my heart, didn't look at her, and said coldly, you should go. Go back and stay with Robert. He doesn't have much time left. Don't fail another man who loves you. Although I hated her, I still didn't want her to become a bad woman everyone despised. After all, we had loved each other once. Sarah's tears streamed down her face. She hung her head, silent. She knew she no longer had the right to speak to me. As she walked past me, I heard quiet sobbing and choked sounds. My heart suddenly felt heavy, like a large stone was lodged there, incredibly painful. Sarah left. She didn't contact me for a month. No calls, no messages. I heard about Sarah's recent situation from Emily. After that day, she went to be with Robert. Because Robert was very upset that day, his condition worsened, and his health declined rapidly. Although the hospital tried their best to save him, he had terminal cancer, and no amount of treatment could help. After staying in the hospital for about a week, Robert insisted on being discharged. He said he didn't want to waste his last days in the hospital. Sarah took him home and then took him traveling. I listened, only nodding slightly, not saying much. Emily saw I wasn't talking and didn't ask further. Another month passed, and Emily suddenly called, her voice anxious. Dave, are you free now? Can you come over to the house? I hesitated for a moment. Emily, afraid I hadn't understood, quickly explained, it's the place you and Sarah used to live. Sarah came home the day before yesterday and hasn't left the house since. She's not talking to anyone, she looks completely lost. My recently calm mood suddenly became tense. I asked urgently, what happened? Where are you? I'll pick you up right away, and we can talk when we meet. Even though I had broken up with Sarah, I couldn't just stand by if she was in trouble, not even as a friend. After sending my location to Emily, she arrived in 15 minutes. Getting into the car, I asked anxiously, tell me everything that happened. It turned out that the day before yesterday was Robert's funeral. Although he had fought hard, unwilling to leave this world, the illness finally took him. Sarah had been by his side during his last moments. When Robert closed his eyes, Sarah cried like a child, utterly heartbroken. After his funeral, Sarah asked Emily and a few other best friends to go to a bar to drink. Emily and the others knew Sarah was trying to drown her sorrows in alcohol, so they advised her to drink less, mourn and move on, and try to see things differently. But Sarah was determined to drink and said she was fine. Emily took her home and intentionally stayed for a while to make sure she was all right before leaving. But since yesterday morning, Sarah woke up and hadn't said a word. She just stared at old photos of her and me, lost in thought. No matter how much Emily called her, or even yelled at her, she didn't react at all, like a vegetable. Emily said worriedly, I saw her condition wasn't right, so I quickly called you. Dave, I know Sarah was foolish before and did things that hurt you. But, for the sake of the love you once shared, please help her. At least get her to talk normally, don't let her stay like this, like she's dead. It's terrifying. My willingness to come already showed that I would do my best to help. When I got to Sarah's place, I saw she was indeed just as Emily described, sitting on the floor, holding old photos of her and me, expressionless and blank. Emily went up to her and said, Sarah, look here, look who's come. Sarah remained unresponsive. Seeing she was truly not well, my heart felt like it was being fiercely squeezed, feeling terrible. I knelt down, looked at Sarah, and gently waved my hand in front of her eyes. Sarah, it's David, look at me. Sarah still didn't react. Emily's face was filled with horror. She asked cautiously, could she really have been so shocked that she had a mental breakdown? I was also worried she would stay like this. I called her name again gently, Sarah, it's me, David, do you remember me? Seeing she still didn't react, in a moment of urgency, I grabbed her shoulders and squeezed a little harder. Sarah cried out in pain, she has pain sensation, she has pain sensation. I shouted excitedly. The next second, Sarah suddenly hugged me and started sobbing uncontrollably. I froze, unsure what to do, and just looked at Emily. She was also surprised and delighted, laughing and cursing. Damn it, Sarah, you scared the hell out of me. I thought you were. I'm fine. Sarah let go of me, her eyes full of tears, and said gratefully, Dave, thank you for still coming to see me. I looked at her cautiously, still not completely relieved. Are you really okay? She had looked genuinely terrifying just now. Sarah smiled sweetly and shook her head. I'm really okay. Then why weren't you talking at all just now? Not even showing any expression? She smiled again. I just wanted to see if you would feel bad for me. Realizing I had been played, I stood up angrily and started to leave. Sarah hurried after me, grabbed my arm, and pleaded, Dave, don't go, stay with me, okay? I shook off her hand, my resolve returning to its previous firmness. Sarah, we're over. No! She shook her head forcefully, unwilling to accept the reality, crying heartbrokenly. If it's really over, why did you still come? You must still have feelings for me, right? There were indeed feelings for her in my heart, but I only saw her as a friend now. Turning around, I looked straight at Sarah, my expression devoid of emotion. Even if I saw a stranger collapse on the street, I would feel some concern. So, stop overthinking things. Sarah flinched as if struck by lightning, her eyes filled with despair. I turned away again, not meeting her gaze, and said coldly, you should leave. Go back and be with Robert. He doesn't have much time left. Don't fail another man who loved you. Although I hated her, I still didn't want her to become a bad woman everyone despised. After all, we had loved each other once. Sarah's tears streamed down her face. She hung her head, silent. She knew she no longer had the right to speak to me. As she walked past me, I heard quiet sobbing and choked sounds. My heart suddenly felt heavy, like a large stone was lodged there, incredibly painful.